This is about why being genuinely kind, available, and easy to be around can still get you completely overlooked. But that's exactly the part that confuses most guys, because they assume the fix for being overlooked is simply being nicer. The actual problem was never your kindness. It's something your kindness has been quietly signaling the entire time without you realizing it. Researchers Jeff Urbaniak and Peter Kilmann ran a series of studies on exactly this question, and what they found breaks the common assumption completely. Women in their studies consistently rated nice men as more desirable than rude or dismissive men, both for dating and for marriage. Therefore, niceness itself was never the problem, and the popular idea that women secretly prefer jerks doesn't hold up under actual research. But something else in their data explains why plenty of genuinely nice guys still get passed over, and it has nothing to do with kindness as a trait. Here's the part that actually explains it. Psychologist Robert Cialdini spent decades documenting a principle called scarcity, showing that people consistently assign more value to things that are harder to access and less value to things that are constantly and unconditionally available. Your brain uses availability itself as a shortcut for value, before it even evaluates the actual qualities of whatever it's looking at. Therefore, a man who is endlessly agreeable, always free, and never inconveniences anyone isn't sending a message about his character. He's sending a message about his availability, and your brain reads unconditional availability as a signal that nothing else is competing for it. This is the first framework worth naming, and it's called the availability discount. Every time you make yourself instantly available, drop your own plans without hesitation, or agree with everything just to avoid friction, you're not proving your value. You're quietly discounting it, the same way a product marked down to 0% scarcity gets treated as less desirable regardless of its actual quality. The kindness was never the issue. The complete absence of any cost to access you is what got discounted. A 2025 study published in the Journal of Research and Personality surveyed 3,800 adults across 3 countries and found that highly agreeable men were slightly less likely to be in a relationship than less agreeable men, while extroverted men did noticeably better. But here's the detail that actually matters. Once a relationship had already formed, those same agreeable traits predicted higher relationship satisfaction than almost anything else measured. The kindness wasn't a liability in the relationship. It was specifically a liability in how the relationship got signaled before it existed. This is the second framework worth naming, and it's called the selectivity signal. Selectivity isn't about being cold or playing games. It's the visible evidence that you have standards, options, and a life that doesn't automatically bend around anyone who shows interest. A woman isn't scanning for a man who lacks kindness. She's scanning for evidence that his kindness is a choice he's making, not a default setting he can't turn off because he has nothing else pulling at his attention. Picture 2 men who are both, by any honest measure, genuinely nice. The first replies within seconds of every message, clears his weekend the moment she mentions being free, and never once says no to a plan she suggests. The second replies within a reasonable window, keeps his own commitments even when she texts last minute, and occasionally says he already has something going on that evening. Both men are equally kind in how they treat her once they're actually together. But one of them has a visible life outside of her attention, and the other doesn't. Her brain reads the difference as information about his value, whether or not he intended to send any signal at all. This shows up most clearly in the first few weeks of texting, because that's exactly when someone has the least other information to go on. A guy who answers every message within a minute, sends a follow-up if she goes quiet for an hour, and matches her energy no matter how little she's actually putting in, is unintentionally broadcasting that nothing else in his day is currently competing for his attention. A guy who replies warmly but on his own timeline, who's clearly living a full day that this conversation is a part of rather than the center of, sends the opposite signal without saying a single unkind word. Neither man has done anything wrong, but only one of them has left any room for her to wonder what he's actually doing right now. So what actually determines whether kindness helps or hurts isn't how nice you are. It's whether your niceness comes with any visible cost attached to it. Because a cost is what tells her brain the kindness means something. free of any cost, the exact same behavior reads as low value instead of high value, even though nothing about the underlying character changed at all. Here's what to actually do with this. Stop treating instant availability as proof of interest, because it's actually erasing the very signal you're trying to send. Keep your own plans, your own standards, and your own life running whether or not she's currently paying attention to it. Say yes because you actually want to, not because saying no feels risky. Let a message sit for a while when you're genuinely busy instead of dropping everything to respond immediately. Not as a strategy to seem aloof, but because your actual life should be full enough that this is simply true. When she suggests a plan that conflicts with something you already have going on, say so honestly instead of rearranging your whole week around her first ask. The goal isn't becoming less kind. It's making sure your kindness is something she has to actually earn a little, not something that arrives automatically the moment she shows the faintest interest. So here's what this all comes down to. You were never rejected for being too nice. You were read as low value because nothing about your availability ever had to be earned, and your brain's version of value detection picked up on that before either of you consciously noticed it happening. Once you see the availability discount for what it actually is, the fix isn't becoming colder, and it definitely isn't becoming someone you don't actually recognize. It's making sure your time, attention, and warmth are things that clearly belong to a full life first, and to her second, in that order, every time. This isn't about manipulation, and it was never about tricking anyone into liking you. It's about presenting the truth accurately instead of accidentally underselling it, because a full life that occasionally makes room for someone reads completely differently than an empty one that revolves entirely around them. And that's exactly what the system linked below is built to help you build.